All right, welcome back to another episode of the Tempest Rising podcast. I believe this is episode 28, and today we're looking at the power of questions. So if you've been following my stuff, you'll know that I'm going to be running a challenge in January, covering the 4 biggest things that are keeping you stuck in the cycle of chaos. So I'll be covering fear, self-esteem, confidence, and stress. And it's called the Fatal 4, and it's going to be hosted inside of the Limitless group. So you're going to get 5 days of free coaching, a workbook, and there's going to be a prize draw at the end. So if you want to get in on that, go follow the link in the comments and join us there, because it'd be a really great way to kick off 2020 and it'll get you moving in the right direction. So on to today. Today we are looking at the power of questions. So any good coach knows the importance of asking questions, and not just any questions, but the right kind of questions. If somebody asks you the right kind of questions, it can help reframe, it can create perspective, it can bring about some enlightenment, it can solve problems, it can inspire creativity, it can enhance relationships, it can improve your sense of self, and it's also a really good opportunity to listen, because as a human being, listening is a really important skill. If you're able to listen, it does make you a better person. It's the skill that is on par with questioning. The two are directly interlinked. You can't have one without the other. So questions are really important. They make you think. They activate the creative part of the brain, which forces you to search for answers, and it stretches you mentally. Questions can also be highly motivating for people, because as humans, we are naturally curious and we want to know the right answer. So when you're posed with a question, you'll naturally feel obligated to find an answer. Questions in themselves, they also help you identify things. They help you figure out stuff, which when you want to live a better life, you have to figure these things out. You have to know yourself. Because if you don't know what you want, you don't know where your passions lie or what your purpose is or what it is that you actually want to feel, then it becomes impossible to progress. All of the actions that you take will hold very little weight because they're not aligned with what it is you want, what your goals are. So questions are really important because they can take you from being stuck to a place of clarity when the answer suddenly hits you. So without questions, there can't be any answers. And without answers, you have nothing to go on. You have nothing to work from. You have a distinct lack of knowledge, which leaves you with nothing but ignorance. And in a place of ignorance, it's impossible to know how to act. Questions also force you to adapt, to consider things differently from a different perspective. A statement is nothing more than just a fact, an opinion, or in some instances a fact. And unless you're actually subjected to it endlessly on a repetitive loop, it will mean very little to you. It'll have very little power. Whereas a well-posed question will actually force you to think and to respond appropriately, especially if it's an open-ended question that requires something more than a yes or a no. Philosophers are some of the best questioners in the world. They are always pondering and questioning things, which is how they become so insightful. And if you can turn your questions inwards to yourself, you can gain a lot of insight about yourself and about your life. And as you already know, the first stage in the 4 stages of change model is acknowledgement. So to acknowledge, you actually need knowledge in the first place, and that knowledge comes from asking questions. So once you have that and you've reached that stage of acknowledgement, you can then move through the other stages of accepting, aspiring, and finally acting for a better outcome. But it all starts with questions. One of the best mindset training tools available is the question, and it's a huge part of the 12 Weeks to Limitless program. We actually have a series of workbooks. So there's a phase 1 workbook, which is this one, phase 2 workbook, and then finally the phase 3 journal. All of these are full of really important questions They are insight gathering questions, so they'll help you in the process of change. At the end of the day, questions are the basis for all knowledge. You can use them to your advantage to completely shift your life. So your call to action today is really simple. It's twofold actually, but the first part is to ask yourself an open-ended question that is in somehow related to your current goal. So an example would be, let's say if my goal was to lose some weight, you could ask, what did I do today to contribute towards my weight loss? So it's an open-ended question. You're actually going to have to think about an answer. It's not a case of, did I exercise today? Because that's a very simple yes or no. Did I eat well today? That's a simple yes or no. It's a more open-ended question, so you have to gather some more information and you have to look for insights. Now, the second part of your call to action is to join the group. It's to click the link that is up in the comments and join us in the Limitless group, because it's going to help you. And if it doesn't help you and you don't find it an amazing use of your time, I will personally buy you the book of your choice from Amazon and have it shipped right to you. So you have nothing to lose at all. Get yourself in the group, because there's loads of great stuff in there and there's even more great stuff coming up. I'm going to be back next week. Until then, question everything. Use childlike wonder. I promise you it'll change the way you see the world. I'll see you in a week.